Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Oliver Westmoreland. I am an OISC registered level 3 immigration advisor, and I am senior immigration lawyer with GSN Immigration. Please subscribe to our YouTube channel and click on the bell icon so that you can continue to watch our extremely interesting videos about UK visa and immigration advice. I've got several different topics today, and I'm really sort of rounding things up. Some of them, no doubt, much more important than others, but let's see how it goes. First of all, the governing body that governs people like us, the OISC, the Office of the Immigration Services Commission, it's changing its name in the new year, and it's going to be the IAA. So it'll be no longer OISC, it's going to be IAA. Maybe you don't care one way or another, but you might see it on the internet, and you just might want to know. Another interesting things. We've already discussed this, I'm just reminding you. E-visas supposed to come in for everybody on 31st of December this year. Hard copy visas supposed to be dead, buried and finished. Well, Home Office decided they haven't quite got things ready. It's not going to happen. The deadline is not going to be 31st December. It's going to be somewhat later, at least 31st of March, and maybe possibly later. So it looks like your hard copy documents, such as a vignette or BRP, biometric residence permit, they will be acceptable at the border, and they will be acceptable for carriers such as airliners. Third item, I've told you about this already, I'm going to now remind you, ETA Electronic Travel Authorization. Believe it or not, it already exists for some Arab nationals, but this is a different and separate scheme from what we've been talking about. These are these are visa nationals who can have the ETA instead of visa. New scheme, different scheme coming in incrementally in different stages early next year. It will eventually encompass all non-visa nationals. They will have to get the ETA, which is an online application, before they can get on the airliner, basically. We thought it's going to be something not too challenging. We thought it might be just about criminal convictions and things and stuff. In fact, it's more than that. As we described in our previous video, it's something like a mini visa application. It encompasses adverse immigration issues, breach conditions, overstaying, so on and so forth. It's going to make life rather more difficult for non-visa nationals than it was previously. But please look at our previous blog in which we tell you about that. Other thing, also we've told you, Colombians. It's rather, it may be funny or tragic, I'm not sure which. In 2002, Colombians got promoted from visa nationals to non-visa nationals. Home Office has now changed its mind. It says, well, they're not as reliable as we thought. A lot of them are coming here, relatively not, claiming asylum. Of course, that's always a bad thing. And some are coming to the UK for the wrong reasons that visitors should not be coming to the UK for. So they've changed track. Colombians who had become non-visa nationals, now they are visa nationals again. So there we go. It's all rather unfair, isn't it? Because I'm sure that many Colombians are fine, upstanding people, but that's the way that it works. So Colombians have been demoted back to where they came from. Finally, Ukraine schemes. You must have heard about these. And this is in relation to the 10-year route to continuous 10-year route to settlement. This route has been changed so much over the last few years. I wouldn't put it quite so simply, but pretty much it's become harder and more onerous. What has happened is that some categories of visa holder, they are no longer to count that period of leave towards their 10-year continuous lawful residence. There weren't any rules about this until a couple of years ago. Now various categories cannot include that period of leave within their 10-year continuous lawful residence period. For example, visitors, seasonal workers, and Home Office says that those who have leave under the Ukrainian schemes, they will not be able to incorporate that period of leave into their 10-year continuous lawful residence claim. So these things are rather unfortunate because somebody who holds leave in a particular category, in their head, they think that they're going to be able to include this in their 10-year period. Suddenly Home Office says, and this is retrospective, Home Office says, no, you can't include that in your claim now. So however long ago it was, I'm sorry, that doesn't work anymore. So, I mean, Ukrainian schemes maybe not so bad because these schemes are quite recent, but that's the way that it works. Home Office suddenly decides that a certain type of visa, a certain type of leave cannot be included within that 10-year period, and it's retrospective. So, you know, if you had a period of leave 3, 4, 5 years ago, it's wiped off. It's wiped off, and you have to start again. Anyway, so Ukrainian schemes, any visa under the various Ukrainian schemes are no longer going to be possible to include those periods of leave in the 10-year continuous lawful residence. Mr. Shah, I've touched a lot of different topics here. Some of them we know about already. Have you got any questions, comments, or issues you'd like to raise with me?
Well, thank you so much for diving into so many topics in this one vlog. It sounds like so many new changes have happened, and let's cover them for the viewers. So we understand the Ukrainians' visa schemes do not lead to a long residence application.
No.
I mean,
And anybody who applies now, that new rule is going to apply.
wow. I mean, there may be Ukrainian nationals in the UK on a different visa route who may have switched into this category, and now this new disaster news.
Well, I can tell you something much worse. Somebody might have had leave 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 years ago as a visitor, and as far as the law went, that was acceptable. I mean, I've done such cases. Visitor leave was acceptable for 10 years continuous lawful residence. Now, if they suddenly discovered, about a year and a half ago, visitor was removed from the list of acceptable types of leave, the rug was pulled right from underneath their feet, because from when that visitor leave was, nothing happens. You know, they have to start fresh from that time when just before that visitor leave started. They have to go back and start afresh from there, which might have been many years ago. So that was extremely upsetting for some people. It was a retrospective piece of law.
Wow. Do you think there may be any legal challenges that may be coming up for this?
Well, it was about a year and a half ago. I haven't heard of any challenges yet. I see, don't forget, immigration rules, retrospectivity is not necessarily illegal. You know, the laws are not very helpful for immigrants with the immigration rules. It's a bit different with acts of parliament and things, could be rather different, but immigration rules, retrospectivity, generally it's acceptable.
What I meant was about this Ukrainian visa scheme, which is a recent news, like you just shared. I mean, do you think someone may challenge this in the courts?
Well, no, if no one challenged any of the other ones, I don't see how they can challenge this one particularly.
Wow. Okay. Could you remind our audience, the student visa route, for example, or the graduate visa route, do they also count towards the 10-year long residence or not?
They do.
They do.
Student visa, graduate visa, that they do.
Okay, fantastic. Moving on to what's happened with Colombian nationals, it's rather a sad news, really.
It is very frustrating.
I mean,
but it's a kind of a lesson there, I would say. How does the Home Office decide who is a visa national and who isn't? It's a bit unfair, really. They take a general view. They say, people from this country, they've done this and they've done that. You know, too many people, they've claimed asylum, they've come in for the wrong reason. Now, of course, the great majority of people might come here for completely good reasons and follow all the laws and everything, but that's just the way it goes. Too many people offend Home Office principles, and the whole nation gets suddenly demoted to visa national country.
It's a shame. Do you know if there are any numbers that the Home Office works on, like, oh, if this many people applied for asylum, we're going to take this back?
There's no mathematical formula, but if you look at our website, GSN immigration website, I've actually quoted some numbers. Look at the blog, the article there. Home Office actually provided some numbers. Okay. It's not a mathematical thing, but the numbers were just a bit too high for the Home Office to be comfortable with.
Wow. I understand. So now, as we know, the Labour government's in power. They've published new stats. They're removing a lot of people from the UK.
It seems that they're doing it more effectively than the previous Conservative government, despite all their rhetoric on the subject.
Wow. I mean,
I think that they jettisoned the Rwanda scheme and did something that seemed a lot more useful and practical.
that's actually doable. That's correct. Comparing the data with last 5 years, they've removed more people since
Yeah.
they've come into power than the people
Yes.
that the previous government could remove in
And
the last
also,
5
Sir
years.
Keir Starmer is suddenly horrified about the high amount of net immigration into the UK over the last few years. I'm slightly confused because he was the one who was against Brexit. Now, everybody knows there were loads of Europeans coming to the UK and they couldn't be controlled because the law, free movement, didn't allow. Suddenly, Sir Keir Starmer is horribly shocked about the huge numbers of migrants coming to the UK over the last few years, and even since Brexit, and he's horribly shocked, and he's going to take some interesting measures to stop them, including, apparently, he's going to get British firms to train more indigenous people to do these skilled jobs, so we don't have to import so many foreigners. I've heard this before so many times, but this is what he says.
Wow.
But I said, Labour government, they do take it seriously. They do realise that immigration is too high. Not just illegal immigration, but legal immigration as well.
I mean, I know a lot of people who are thinking when the Labour comes to power, they're going to offer some sort of amnesty, some sort of
This
relief.
has been going on for the last 20 years, rumours about amnesty. The nearest it ever came was with asylum seekers a few years ago. Legacy cases, a lot of asylum seekers were suddenly given leave because there were too many for the system to really cope properly. That was a long time ago. I don't think it's going to happen again.
Okay. And
That was a Conservative government, not a Labour government.
true. Another thing we need to look at is how the press and the media are not talking about the removals. I mean, in Conservative government, every other removal was in the newspapers and you could hear these news in the TV. There's so many people being removed without any news or talk about.
Can I say, if you search deeply into the media, you can find information about that.
Sure. I mean, it's not on the spotlight as it used to be.
No, I mean, newspaper, they always choose what to make headlines about and what not to make headlines about. That's up to them, isn't it? But if you look in the deeper corners of the media, you will find information about that. Removals are definitely up compared to what they were. I read somewhere that the money that had been invested in the Rwanda scheme is now being put into normal, ordinary removals, which seems quite good. I was never very convinced about the Rwanda scheme at all, so it makes sense to me.
Wow. Okay, perfect.
What do you think, Mr. Judd? Did Rwanda scheme make sense to you?
Nah, it doesn't make sense to me. I never thought it was a good scheme.
We're fully agreed on that.
Fantastic. Well, thank you so much for giving us these latest up-to-dates, and we see you with the new vlog soon.
Yes, and may I wish everyone, if you're interested in this sort of thing, Merry Christmas and nice New Year.
Merry Christmas and Happy New Year, everyone. See you in the next one.
See you next time.